Hey, welcome to the second course. I'm Musically Malnourished. You're on my journey to go deep and wide in discovering new music and artists. We are diving deep into the lyrics and meaning behind the music. This song is Give Me a Reason from NF off of his 2025 EP called Fear. So let's hop in and go ahead and give this song a look. It says, Give Me a Reason is a track from MF's EP Fear. The song was earlier previewed on November 4th, 2024 on NF's Instagram and Twitter account. The song was also played at UFC 309 as a walk-up theme of an MMA boxer, Michael Chandler, on November 16th, 2024. There's the info for that. It says on November 4th, NF posted 2 snippets of this song on his Instagram in the form of 2 reels. NF later deleted the second snippet while the first one can still be found on its Instagram account. Okay, very neat. Let's get into the lyrics. Enough with the love, I need to be hated again. I need somebody to wake up the beast and really get under my skin. I need somebody to push me, tell me that I ain't no good with the pen. I need somebody to poke and pry and really get into my head. I need somebody to laugh, tell me I'm trash, tell me I might as well quit. I need somebody to grab the blade in my back, stab, and give it a twist. I need somebody to smash, break all my plaques, tell me I shouldn't exist. I need somebody to ask why you even rap. You'll never be one of the, obviously, greats. I need somebody to brag and show me they cash and tell me you'll never be rich. I need somebody with stats and numbers and facts to tell me I ain't got no hits. I need somebody who's whack, ain't got no class to tell me I'm not on they list. I need somebody to act like I'm in the past so I can remind them I'm here. Yeah, it's interesting, this idea of like motivation from that factor. You know, there are a few different types of motivation. You have external motivation, which is typically the idea of a force working upon you, or like something external that you are trying to achieve. So whether that's, you know, you want to be in a certain room, you want to have a certain position, you want to make a certain amount of money, whatever that goal might be, or maybe it's just security, financially or whatever. Then you have what's the internal motivation. So that thing that just rises up within you, which sometimes the external motivates the internal, right? But whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, that inside you feel is like going to satisfy you, reward you. And then there's often the talk of eternal motivation, right? The things that we do for the glory of God, that we have this like goal, this thing that we're trying to achieve that's going to live beyond us and point beyond us. And so you have these different types of motivation. I'd be curious, I'm trying to think in my own life, you know, if there were times that I was motivated to accomplish something because somebody said I couldn't. And I know that that exists, whether somebody flat out said that or it's a sense that I got. But I don't know, you know, those only go so far because, I mean, at least in my experience. So if that's the initial thing, sometimes honestly I have to fight it with the internal. It's like, okay, but you've got to do your thing. So what are you trying to accomplish? So I'd be curious, you know, if you have stories of like how, like what motivates you, what moves you. And I know that Ninev's not necessarily saying like he needs all of these things, but I think it was like that idea when he was coming up, when he was trying to, you know, accomplish something, trying to hone his craft. The people that said you'll never do it, it's like it does. It lights that fire that's like, okay, watch me, you know? So then he's getting in here in his own self. I forgot what the struggle's like. I forgot what that hustle like. I forgot what that humble like. I forgot what that. And it is, you do have to remind yourself, you know, of all of these things. And it's an interesting conversation too, like even in the realm of parenting, you know, I have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a almost 10-year-old. And we were even having a conversation because obviously my 14-year-old's getting closer to 15, which is learner's license, and then 16, which is license. And every family can choose to do things how they see fit, but we had seen a post of somebody like a 16-year-old who just got his brand new BMW, and it sparked an interesting conversation between my wife and I. Not that we have the means to go buy our kids new BMWs, but even the question of like, if we could, if it really wasn't much of a stretch and we had that, disposable income, would we? And I heard somebody say one time that his fear, a guy who was affluent, he said, and he was speaking to a room of affluent people, the thing that I find with affluent people often is they give their kids everything except for what made them great. And it is that idea of the struggle, right? And so we even had a conversation. It was like, I think there is something to having a car that they can rely on. But we were reminiscing about our first vehicles. My wife just purchased her first new vehicle. I've never purchased a new vehicle. But like, we loved those cars, they didn't look great, but they ran fine. They were paid off. We took pride in taking care of them. And I think there is something to that, about helping your children and helping get them off on the right foot, but still like keep that fight in them. Like, you want a new vehicle? Be grateful for the one that you have. Take wonderful care of it. Be excited about your cheap air freshener or whatever, or vacuuming your partly stained carpets, and feel that thing inside of you that's like, I'm grateful. I'm thankful for what I have. But if you want to achieve something, if you want something more, like, you got to go make it happen. And so I think it's important, that idea of being able, even when you're successful, and this is kind of what NF's getting at, is tapping into that person that needed to struggle, that fight that was in you, to keep pushing and accomplishing. I ain't forget about nothing. To keep it 100, I'm honestly bored. I want to feel like I felt when nobody was following me and I had no awards. I want to get back to hearing them call me a wannabe shady who ain't got no voice. I'm sure that obviously it's a reference to Eminem. Because, honestly, NF was white. And plenty of artists talk about this with Eminem. They were like, this was this white guy was in our scene, and yet he was doing something incredible. And so even NF kind of immediately, if you're a white guy who's really talented at rap, you kind of get put in that category with Eminem. And also, NF does have an aggressive way of rapping, but I love that idea. Call me a wannabe shady who ain't got no voice. Which, in fact, he has a very wonderful singing voice. I want the people that promise they'd always be with me to leave me and walk out the door. I want the fans to quit buying them tickets and tell them they don't want to see me on tour. I want the label to drop me and tell me it's over. The music ain't making no sense. I want the crickets to call me a gimmick and tell me they thought I was better before. The critics. I said crickets. I was about to analyze, I wonder what he means by cricket. He said critics. Because again, these are the things, right, that puts him back in that fighting mindset. This was the one I was curious about. I want to hear you keep talking the way that you talking when no one's around to record. Is that like a I would throw down on you, but there are cameras around and I'd get in trouble? Nate wants his false supporters, the one who only support him now because he's popular, to stop the facetious behavior of supporting NF and come out for who they truly are, signified by how they talk when no one's around to listen. I want to hear about how you ain't feeling the music and why it ain't better than yours. I want to hear about it. I want to talk about it. I want to air it out. I need somebody to. Just give me a reason. Just a little bit's enough. Can learn to love again. Yeah, interesting. Well, hey, let me know your thoughts on that, especially on the motivation piece, and how you feel like where's the line, because you don't want to just do everything out of anger and spite, but sometimes it is that idea, it's fight or flight, right? You can't accomplish that. There's no way you'll reach that, that causes that fire in you. Because I think the mature thing is to separate that, because then if your only validation is showing that person wrong, I think you get off in kind of this weird space versus like that will just naturally happen if you're successful anyways. But if you can take that and put it into this internal that's like, okay, they're going to do their thing. Forget about them. I am going to be successful. I am going to accomplish this. I am going to break barriers. It's an interesting conversation. Well, thanks for joining me for this one. I hope to see you in the next one because we're eating good.